Sunday, February 17, The Woman and the Dragon. Question. Read Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 through to 5. In vision, John sees two great signs. The first is a woman pregnant with a child, and the second is a dragon. What do these signs or symbols represent, and what do these verses teach? Revelation 12, beginning at verse 1. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then, being with child, she cried out in labour and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. A woman in the Bible is used as a symbol for God's people, as we read in 2 Corinthians 11:2. For I am jealous for you with godly jealousy, for I have betrothed you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. A chaste woman stands for faithful believers, while a harlot stands for apostate Christians. The woman in Revelation 12 first symbolizes Israel, to whom the Messiah came, and we've just read that in Revelation 12, 1-5. In verses 13 to 17, she stands for the true church that gives birth to the remnant. And verse 13 onwards reads, Now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. This woman is portrayed as clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet. The sun represents the glory of Christ's character, his righteousness, as we read in Malachi 4:2. But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go out and grow fat like stall-fed calves. He is the light of the world, as it says in John 8, verse 12, and his people are to reflect the light of God's loving character to the world, as we read in Matthew 5, verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Revelation 12 verse 9 reads, So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. His tail, symbolizing the means used to deceive, in Isaiah 9:14 and 15 and Revelation 9:10, dragged 1/3 of the stars from heaven down to the earth, as we read in Revelation 12 verse 4. Isaiah 9 verses 14 and 15 reads, Therefore the Lord will cut off head and tail from Israel, palm branch and bulrush in one day. The elder and honourable, he is the head. The prophet who teaches lies, he is the tail. In Revelation 9 and verse 10. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. Their power was to hurt men 5 months. This action shows that Having fallen from his exalted position in heaven, as described in Isaiah 14:12-15, Satan was able to deceive a third of the angels. Isaiah 14, beginning at verse 12. How you were fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How you were cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations! For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit. These fallen angels are the demons who assist the devil in opposing God and his work of salvation, as we see in 1 Timothy 4:1. Now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of devils. Revelation also uses the dragon, described as having 7 heads and 10 horns, as a symbol of those agents in the world used by Satan. Pagan Rome, as we saw in Revelation 12 verse 4, and spiritualism, as we'll see in Revelation 16 and verse 13. And that reads, Revelation 16:13, And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Ellen White writes in The Great Controversy, page 438. The dragon is said to be Satan in Revelation 12 verse 9. He it was that moved upon Herod to put the Saviour to death. But the chief agent of Satan in making war upon Christ and his people during the first centuries of the Christian era was the Roman Empire, in which paganism was the prevailing religion. Thus, while the dragon primarily represents Satan, it is, in a secondary sense, a symbol of pagan Rome. Question, read Revelation 12 verse 9. Satan is called that serpent of old. What connection exists between Genesis 3:15 and the dragon's attempt to destroy the seed of the woman as soon as it was born, as it says in Revelation 12 verse 4? Revelation 12 verse 9 reads, So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And Genesis 3:15, And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. From the beginning, Satan was waiting for the Messiah, the child, to be born, in order to destroy him. When the Messiah was finally born, Satan used pagan Rome, also symbolized as the dragon in Revelation 12 verse 4, to try to destroy him, as we see in Matthew 2 verses 13 to 16. Now, when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I bring you word, for Herod will see the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry, and he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. But the child was caught up to God and to his throne, as it says in Revelation 12, verse 5. You have been listening to a reading of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide by Dr. Percy Harold from Queensland, Australia. This service is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and Christian Services for the Blind. Remember, God is always faithful.